Every November, as a familiar, acrid smog descends upon the national capital region, a well-rehearsed theatre of the absurd begins. The judiciary issues stern warnings, governments announce reactive, often performative measures, and a public debate, furious but fleeting, rages over who is to blame. This year is no different. The etymology of air quality crisis in the national capital region remains well documented. Recent data from the Center for Science and Environment consistently show a dynamic pie chart of blame. While the stubble burning can surely account for as much as 40% of the PM 2.5 on peak days, on most other days, Delhi's own local sources of air pollution are the dominant factors, contributing to at least 70% of the toxic air load. From the outside, looking at this crisis, it seems that the system is not just failing, but is structurally designed to fail. The problem is a classic coordination failure among different responsible administrative bodies, and that's what we are here to discuss today. One can look at perhaps this as a problem of coordination, as a classic illustration of game theory, but also the lack of an effective coordinating mechanism of how do we address the problem of air pollution in Delhi and its adjoining areas. The current framework treats the pollution crisis as perhaps a linear problem of enforcement. In Punjab, subsidies for machines that help address air pollution crises, the CRM machines, are often back-ended, requiring farmers to pay an upfront cost of around 1.5 lakh to 2 lakhs, a prohibitive sum for smallholders. Critically, the CRM machines have a high operational cost and seasonal maintenance cost, which makes it economically less viable to burn the stubble down. Delhi government here fears that shutting down construction and industry under a graded response action plan may perhaps cripple its own economy. Remember that Delhi gets all of its supplies on agricultural goods from its neighboring states like Haryana and Punjab. So it cannot really take a very adversarial position in the farming community. Although 15% of Delhi's deaths have now been linked to air pollution and the crisis of air pollution, it may perhaps seem as a rational choice to deflect the blame outwards. And into this vortex comes the judiciary. The judiciary steps as a de facto administrator when effective government, legislative and executive bodies are not able to address the crisis at hand. The judicialization of governance has perhaps become a part of the problem, creating a jurisprudence of inefficacy. This failure is currently on full display. On November 4th, 2025, the amicus curiae informed the Supreme Court that on Diwali, only 9 out of 37 official air quality monitoring stations were functional. This data vacuum makes the entire graded response action plan system a farce. The system is geared towards surviving the hearing and not solving the problem. And that's been a big issue in addressing the pollution crisis in one of the world's most polluted capital cities. The Apex Court, having already stated last year that the Commission for Air Quality Management in the NCR and its adjoining areas has not performed the way it was expected to, and is once again, as of November 2025, is asking the Commission of Air Quality Management in the National Capital Region for an affidavit on its plans. This ad hoc cycle continues and the executive is absolved of responsibility. The institutional collapse, it seems, for not just a Commission on Air Quality Management was supposed to be meant as an answer to addressing the concerns at hand. The Commission was supposed to provide and be one of those supra bodies that could cut out through this interstate of squabbling. The interstate crisis of coordination has been a mess, as we have all seen and experienced. But CAQM, or the Commission of Air Quality Management, was supposed to be an answer. It can issue directions. It remains dependent, perhaps on the very state-level administrative machinery, which is locked in what we can call perhaps as the polluter's dilemma. And that's been a concern. No commission can function outside the state-level administrative machinery, which is itself the perpetrator of the crisis we are experiencing. The inefficacy of state pollution control boards further fuels the crisis. Numerous studies and judicial observations in the MC Mehta versus Union of India and Techi Tara versus Rajendra Bhandari and others underscore, in the cases recently seen, high vacancy rates, insufficient qualified leadership due to the procedure of appointments by the state governments and the underlying bureaucratic partiality in appointments that disregard subject matter expertise. Launched in 2019, the NCAP is India's first national plan to set clean air targets, aiming to reduce pollution by 40% in 130 highly polluted cities by 2026. Remember, this is, folks, not just a New Delhi problem. There are over 100 cities in India which have AQI levels which are at unacceptable rates, perhaps for half of the year. And the Environment Ministry have shown that Delhi, despite being one of the most polluted cities, has perhaps spent only 32.65% of the 43 crores released to it under the NCAP. Similarly, Noida, an adjoining area within the National Capital Region, has spent only 3.44 crores of the 30.89 crore given. The 82 cities receiving direct funding from the union have spent around 1,268 crores, that is 78.5% of the 1,615.47 crore allocated to them. So it's clear one of the key issues that NCAP is facing is that its highly city-centric approach has made most of the urban pollution crisis to emanate outside its jurisdiction, thereby incapacitating local authorities. A lot of its funding is going on urban areas where a lot of the pollution is being experienced. The causes of the pollution are not entirely in urban spaces alone. Having said that, we are seeing the allocations of the money not being sufficient to address the problem in NCR itself because of the spending concern. Now, how do we re-engineer the architecture of governance? There is no temporary solution. The solution, of course, cannot be another temporary committee. Our state borders are political, but the air that moves around these borders move freely in one single ecological zone or airshed. Existing bodies are failing because they attempt to impose coordination on the states. The need of the hour is an institutional arrangement built from the ground up by the states themselves, and you need local solutions for a problem which has become a national concern. Now, any precedents for such interstate cooperation built to manage a shared airshed already exists. We have examples from countries across borders which can help us aid such an institutional solution. For example, in the United States, you have the Ozone Transport Commission, the OTC, which was established to create a coordinated policy forum for multiple states to tackle transboundary ground level ozone. While the OTC has been successfully reducing interstate conflict and developing regional policies, its function remains still largely advisory. A more functionally robust analog can also be found in other sectors. We have, for example, the river basin organizations, the RBOs, which are used worldwide to manage rivers that cross multiple states, sometimes even international borders. And these bodies bring all competing users, including farmers, industrialists, city administrations, to the table to jointly manage what is called or defined as the shared resource. Now, applying and evolving this logic, the states in the NCR, the National Capital Region, airshed can also come together and must do so to forge a permanent interstate compact. We need this perhaps more than ever before. The legal path for this already exists in Article 252 of the Constitution, which allows two or more states to voluntarily agree to have Parliament pass a single common law to manage a shared problem. I mean, what happened to the winter session as being prioritized to be organized in creating such an intervention to create a permanent interstate compact to deal with the problem of air pollution? The proposed sui generis entity that we are just talking about would remedy this tripartite structural deficiencies of the current system. It would resolve the trust and coordination deficit by operating as a body of the states vested with delegated executive authority for the entire NCR airshed, and thus transcending the inter-jurisdictional impasse. This impasse has been long affecting our ability to breathe, survive, and enjoy what would be seen as the right to life under the Indian Constitution. This would simultaneously address also different market failures through the use of a ring-fenced, non-lapsable corpus to catalyze a biomass value chain that would alter the economic calculus against the nature of residue burning we see for agricultural producers. Unlike the Commission for Air Quality Management in NCR and its adjoining areas, which has to appeal to the Supreme Court to enforce its own compact, may include pre-negotiated penalties. For instance, a member state's failure to meet its agreed compliance targets automatically triggers a forfeiture of its share of central level performance, grants, or a direct payment into the corpus of the compact. This internalizes accountability, folks, and dispenses with the current blame game in favor of a binding mutual liability. And that's very critical. This would also be a remedy for the institutional imbalance created by judicial overreach by re-establishing a single, competent, and accountable executive authority. More importantly, it allows the judiciary to oversight and perhaps exit its current role of becoming or being seen as an ad hoc seasonal administration. It cannot grandfather itself into every time there's an executive crisis. It's in the importance of the executive and the legislature to address these issues. So the governance challenge can be addressed. You have a framework now that we can see which represents a fundamental re-engineering of environmental governance, aligning political authority with ecological reality, and that ecological reality is connected with our right to life, to be able to enjoy or breathe the air we live in. I hope we find a solution to the problem that is at hand, making it ineffective for us to even survive at the most basic level. Thank you.